Arav sat alone in his small room. The walls were old. The fan above made a slow creaking sound, and the only light came from a dusty window. In his hands, he held two things: a white envelope and a yellow medical bill. His hands were shaking. The envelope had come just that morning. On the front was his name in bold letters and the logo of a famous university. Arav had waited for this moment for years. Late-night studies, part-time jobs, skipped outings, everything he had done was for this. He had dreamed of going to college, of becoming someone, of giving his mother a better life. But the second paper that bill brought him back to reality. His mother Mena had been sick for months. The medicines were expensive. The doctor said she needed regular care. Arav had already used up most of their savings. There was no one else. His father had died when he was just 8. Since then, it had been just him and Mena. He slowly opened the white envelope. His eyes filled with tears as he read the first line. "Congratulations. You have been accepted." He didn't read the rest. He already knew what it meant. His dream was real, but so was his responsibility. Just then, a soft voice came from the next room. "Arav, did the postman bring anything today?" Arav wiped his face quickly and folded the letter. "No, Ma. Just some ads in a newspaper." "Okay," she replied, her voice weak but loving. "Can you help me sit up?" Arav placed the letter in a drawer and went to her room. Mina was lying on a thin mattress, wrapped in an old shawl. Her face looked tired, but her eyes still smiled when she saw him. "You didn't eat lunch?" she said, touching his hand. Well, Ma, I was just reading." She looked at him for a moment. "You've been quiet since morning. Is everything okay?" Arav nodded. "Everything's fine. Just tired." She didn't ask more. She trusted him. That trust made his chest hurt even more. How could he leave her like this? Who would take care of her if he went to college in another city? That night, Arav sat on the rooftop. The stars were out, but he couldn't enjoy them. He kept thinking about what to do. Could he find a part-time job near the college? Could he bring his mother with him? No, the medical costs were too high. They had no one in that city. No one in this one either. His phone buzzed. A message from his best friend, Rishi. "Bro, I got into the same college. Can you believe it? We're gonna live the dream together." Arav smiled, but it faded quickly. Rishi didn't know. No one did. The next morning, Arav made a decision. He woke up early, cooked breakfast, gave his mother her medicine, and went to the local shop to ask for more work. He already worked. They're part-time in the evenings. Now he wanted morning hours too. "You'll be late for your classes," the shopkeeper said. "I'm not going to college anymore," Arav replied, trying to sound normal. The shopkeeper looked surprised. "But you were the best student in your school." "Some things are more important," Arav said simply. Later, he went home and opened his drawer. He looked at the acceptance letter one last time, then carefully placed it inside an old book, and put the book deep under his bed. He didn't tear it. He couldn't. Some dreams you just hide away when life doesn't allow you to live them. Days passed. Raf's routine changed. He worked in the morning, cooked lunch, gave his mother her medicine, then went back to the shop for the evening shift. At night, when his mother slept, he would quietly take out the college books he had saved and read them under a small lamp. Mina noticed the change. He smiled less. His eyes looked tired, but every time she asked, he just said, "I'm fine, Ma." One afternoon, Mina woke up from a nap and heard him coughing. She walked slowly to the kitchen and found him leaning against the wall, his hand on his chest. "You're sick," she said, worried. "I'm just tired," he replied, forcing a smile. She looked at him closely. "You were supposed to go to college this year. What happened?" Arav paused. "I didn't get in." She didn't believe him, but she didn't say anything. That night, Mena found something strange. Arav had fallen asleep with his head on the table. His notebook was open. Inside, it was a drawing him and his mother, standing outside a college gate, smiling. She picked up the notebook and her eyes filled with tears. She now knew the truth. Her son had given up everything for her. She went back to her room, heart heavy. She couldn't let him throw away his future. But what could she do then? Her eyes fell on a pen and paper. Slowly, painfully, she began to write. She didn't know exactly what she would say, but she knew one thing: her son had given up his dream. For her, it was time she tried to give it back. Arav's days became longer and heavier. Every morning started before sunrise. He would quietly wake up, wash his face, and begin preparing breakfast. His hands worked fast, but his eyes looked tired. After feeding his mother and giving her medicine, he would walk quickly to the corner shop where he now worked to shifts morning and evening. The shop owner, Mr. Kaleem, was kind but strict. "You're a good worker, Arav," he often said, "but you need to rest sometimes. You look like you haven't slept in days." Arav would only smile and say, "I'm okay, sir. I need the money." The truth was, he had no other choice. His mother's medicines were expensive, and each week new tests were required. Some nights she would cough so badly that Arav sat next to her all night, holding her hand, watching her breathe. The fear of losing her never left him. He couldn't afford college, but he also couldn't afford to lose her. The little savings he once had were gone. He now kept track of every rupee in a small notebook. Rent, medicine, food. There was no space for dreams in those pages. Mena watched him quietly from her bed. She saw how thin he had become, how he skipped meals pretending he wasn't hungry. She saw the dark circles under his eyes, the quiet sighs when he thought no one was listening. One afternoon, while Arav was at work, Mena slowly got out of bed. It took effort, but she managed to stand. She went to his room and opened the drawer. He always kept locked. It took her time, but she found the key under his pillow. Inside the drawer, she saw it, the college acceptance letter. She sat down and began to read. As her eyes moved across the page, her heart broke. Her son had been accepted, a top university, full scholarship, and he gave it up for her. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She clutched the letter to her chest. "What have I done?" she whispered. When Arav returned home that night, he found her sitting on the bed with the letter in her lap. His heart dropped. "Ma, I can explain. You lied to me," she said, her voice weak but sharp. "You were accepted." Arav looked down. "It doesn't matter now. We don't have the money. You need me here." "I needed you to live your life," she said, "not give it up." Arav sat beside her. "I can go next year, maybe after." "You're better? And what if I never get better?" she asked. "Will you wait forever?" He had no answer. That night, Mena couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about her son, about his future. She remembered how, even as a child, he would say, "One day I'll take you to a big house. Ma, you won't need to work. You'll just rest and be happy." She had believed him. And now, he was trying to keep that promise by destroying his own dreams. The next morning, she called Remen, the nurse who sometimes helped them. "I need to write a letter," she said. Remen looked surprised. "To whom?" "To the university," she said. "They need to know why he didn't come." Rahman nodded slowly. "Do you want me to write it for you?" "No," she said firmly. "I may be weak, but I still remember how to write." With shaking hands, Mena picked up a pen and started her letter. "To whom it may concern. My son Arav was accepted into your university. He didn't come, not because he didn't want to, but because I was sick. He has given up everything for me, his dreams, his future, his youth. But I don't want to be the reason he loses himself. If there's still a chance, please consider taking him back," she cried while writing, but she finished it. She gave the letter to Remen and asked him to post it the same day. Arav knew nothing. Days passed. He worked harder than ever. One day, he came home with his shirt soaked in sweat and hands covered in cuts from lifting boxers. Mena sat up and smiled weakly. "You shouldn't be working this hard." "I'm fine," he replied, avoiding her eyes. That night, she saw him reading again. His college books were still hidden under his bed, but he brought them out after midnight and read them by the dim light of a desk lamp. He didn't know she was watching from her room. He didn't know she had sent the letter. One evening, while Arav was at the shop, the phone rang. Mina answered slowly. "Hello," said a voice on the other side. "Is this Mrs. Mina?" "Yes," she said softly. "This is the admissions office from Hope Valley University. We received your letter. We want to help." Tears filled her eyes. "Will you take him back?" "Yes," the woman said. "We're sending an official letter, and we've arranged a part-time job and accommodation. He can study and still support you." Mina thanked the woman again and again. That night, she waited for Arav with something different in her eyes. Hope. When he entered the house, tired, as always, she handed him a white envelope. He looked at her, confused. "What's this?" "Open it," she said. He opened it slowly. His hands froze as he read the words, readmission, part-time scholarship, dorm room, full support. He looked at her, shocked. How did this happen?" "I sent them a letter," she said, smiling. "Just like you once got one." Arav didn't speak. He dropped to his knees and hugged her tightly. "Ma, I can't leave you." "You're not leaving me," she said, holding his face. Arav could not sleep that night. The acceptance letter from the university was back in his hands, but this time it felt different. It wasn't just paper and ink, it was a second chance. Something he thought he would never have again. He kept reading the lines over and over, as if making sure it was real. His mother had done this for him. Even in her weak condition, she had fought for his future. But inside, Arav felt a mix of emotions. Joy, yes, but also guilt. How could he leave her now? She still needed care, medicine, and someone by her side. Even if the university was giving him a job and a room, how could he walk away from the woman who gave up her own health to raise him? The next morning, Arav sat beside Mena as she drank her tea. "Ma," he said softly, "how can I go when you still need help?" She placed the cup down and looked at him. Her voice was steady. "You think I'll be happy watching you throw away your future just to feed me soup every day?" He smiled weakly. "It's not just soup, Ma." She smiled too. "I'll manage. Riemann has agreed to come daily for a few hours. I'll hire a helper from the lane to check on me. And you'll call me every night." Deal. Arav nodded slowly. "Deal." In the days that followed, he began preparing to leave. He packed his few clothes, cleaned his small cupboard, and made a list of everything his mother needed: pills, fruits, doctor visits. He even made a weekly chart and stuck it on the fridge. But as the departure day got closer, Arav began to feel something strange. He started coughing more, feeling tired even after short walks. His chest hurt, but he thought it was stress. He pushed it aside. On the morning of his last day at home, Arav went to the shop to say goodbye to Mr. Kaleem. "You'll do great things," Beta, Kaleem said, patting his shoulder. Just don't forget this shop when you're famous. Arav laughed. How can I? I still have your T-bills to pay. When he returned home, he found Mena resting. Her face looked pale, but peaceful. Arav sat next to her and took her hand. Ready to let your son go? He asked gently. She opened her eyes and smiled. Ready to let him fly. He left the house early the next morning with a small bag and a heart full of fear and excitement. The train to the university town was long, but Arav stared out the window the whole time, thinking of his mother, of Riemann, of the dreams he had locked away. The university was big, full of tall buildings and students laughing in the garden. Arav felt like a stranger, but when he stepped into his room and placed his bag on the bed, he whispered, I made it. The first week was hard. Arav woke early, attended classes, worked part-time at the campus library, and studied late into the night. He called his mother every evening and asked about her health. She always said, I'm fine, Beta. Focus on your studies. But by the end of the second week, the coughing got worse. He had trouble breathing after long walks between classes. One evening, while shelving books at the library, he felt dizzy and sat down suddenly. His co-worker, a girl named Tara, noticed. Are you okay? She asked. I'm just tired, he said. You've been coughing a lot. You should see the nurse. He nodded but didn't go. He didn't want to miss a day. A few days later, he fainted in the middle of a lecture. When he opened his eyes, he was in the University Health Center. Tara sat nearby, reading a book. You fainted, she said, twice. They said you're not eating properly. You're overworked. Arav tried to sit up, but his head spun. You should go home, she said softly. Take care of yourself. I can't, he replied. I just got here. The doctor came in with a file. Your body is exhausted, son. You need rest, vitamins, better food, and less stress. Arav looked away. Can I leave now? The doctor sighed. You can leave tomorrow, but if this continues, you'll break down. That night, alone in the small room, Arav stared at the ceiling. He felt something rising inside him. Fear. Was he strong enough to handle all this? Did he really belong here? Back at home, Mina waited for his usual evening call, but it never came. She tried calling him, but it went unanswered by the third missed call. Her hands were shaking. She asked Remen to call the university. An hour later, she received a call back from Tara, who introduced herself and explained everything gently. Please don't worry, Tara said. He just needs rest. But Mena couldn't sleep that night. The next day, Arav called her. Ma, I'm okay. You fainted. I'm fine now, just tired. She was quiet for a moment, then said, Beta, you don't always have to be strong. Arav didn't reply. He just sat there, holding the phone to his ear, listening to her breathe. I'll rest, Ma, he whispered. I promise. You better, she said, trying to sound angry. Or I'll come there and drag you home myself. He smiled. I believe you. After the call, Tara walked into the room with a bowl of soup. You're lucky, she said. You've got someone who loves you that much. Arav nodded. I know, but deep down, he also knew something else. If he didn't take care of himself, all the sacrifices would be for nothing. The days passed slowly, but Arav pushed himself harder. After the fainting incident, he tried to eat better and rest more, but the pressure was still there. Every morning he woke before sunrise, studied, went to his part-time job at the library, attended lectures, and came back to revise. His body was healing slowly, but his mind carried a heavy weight, the fear of failing, of letting his mother down, of losing everything all over again. Back at home, Mina followed the routine Arav had left behind. She marked the chart on the fridge, took her medicines on time, and waited every evening by the phone for his call. Though her body still felt weak, her spirit had started to come alive again. Every time she heard his voice, her heart felt stronger. She knew her son was fighting hard, and now it was her turn to stay strong for him. But one afternoon, while looking through an old box in the cupboard, Mena found something unexpected. It was an old, unopened envelope, yellow with age, hidden inside a diary that had belonged to Arav's father. Her hands trembled as she opened it. The letter inside was written in neat handwriting, her husband's. If anything ever happens to me, please don't let Arav grow up in pain. Tell him about my dreams, my mistakes, my love for him. And please, Mina, if he ever wants something deeply, don't stop him, Evan. If it scares you, let him be free. Her eyes filled with tears. She held the letter to her chest and wept silently. She had tried to protect Arav by holding him close, but maybe she had almost clipped his wings without realizing it. His father's words felt like they had come at the perfect time, as if reminding her not to let fear win. That same evening, Mena called Remen and asked him to help her write another letter. This one wasn't to a university or a hospital. It was to Arav. Don't you want to talk to him? Remen asked gently. No, she replied. He'll hide his pain again. He always says I'm fine even when he's not. Maybe words written with love can reach deeper. They wrote it together, short, honest, and full of emotion. My dear son, I see you, even when you're far away. I feel your tired voice, your brave silence, but you don't have to carry the world on your shoulders. You are not alone. You are never just my caretaker. You are my pride, my hope, my future. Take care of yourself like you take care of me. That's the only thing I want from you now. Love. Ma. Remen posted the letter the next morning. Meanwhile, Arav's days at the university became a little easier. Tara, his coworker, started helping him more. She reminded him to eat, forced him to take breaks, and even brought him home-cooked meals sometimes. Slowly, he began to smile again, not just for others, but for himself. One rainy evening, as he returned from class, soaked and tired, he found an envelope waiting for him in his room. The handwriting on the front made his heart stop. It was from his mother. He sat on his bed, wiped his hands, and opened it. As he read the letter, his eyes filled with tears. He didn't try to hold them back. He read it again and again, each word soaking deep into his soul. For the first time in months, he felt like someone truly understood what he was going through. That night, Arav wrote something to not for anyone else, just for himself. A short message in his notebook: "I'm not just surviving, I'm allowed to live too." The next day he went to the campus health center and asked for help managing his stress and health. He created a new schedule with fewer work hours and more time for rest. Tara helped him arrange support from the student counselor. His teachers agreed to give him flexible deadlines for assignments. He started breathing easier, eating better, laughing louder. Back home, Mena noticed the change in his voice during their calls. He sounded lighter, calmer, more alive. That was all she had prayed for. One Sunday morning, a surprise arrived at her door. A delivery boy handed her a parcel and a note. She opened the box slowly and found a warm shawl, a framed photo of Arav at his college gate, and a small card. "I'm doing well, Ma. I promise. You saved me again. I love you." Mina hugged the shawl to her chest and cried quietly, not from sadness but from pride. Her son had not just gone to college. He had begun healing too. A few weeks later, something unexpected happened at the university. Arav was selected to speak at the student gathering for Voices of Courage, an event honoring students who had overcome major challenges. At first, he didn't want to, but Tara encouraged him. "Your story might help someone else," she said. He thought about it for a few days, then said yes. On the day of the event, he stood nervously on stage. Lights shone in his eyes. The hall was full. Arav woke up early that morning with a strange calmness in his heart. The speech he had given at the university event still echoed in his mind. People had come up to him afterwards, some crying, others simply thanking him for sharing his story. For the first time, he realized that pain could have purpose, that his journey could light a path for someone else. After class, he walked to the university office to check for any new letters or notices. There, sitting neatly in his mailbox, was a cream-colored envelope. It had no logo, no sender name, just his name, handwritten. He turned it over. The back was sealed with a small heart drawn in ink. Curious, he opened it slowly. Inside was a letter written on soft paper, the handwriting unfamiliar but beautiful. "Dear Arav, you don't know me, but I know your story. I was in the audience. The day you gave your speech, I was one of the many who cried, not just because your story was sad, but because it was powerful. You showed us what real love and strength look like. I want to help." Arav paused, eyes wide. "I come from a family that believes in giving back quietly. You don't need to thank me, but if you're willing, I'd like to sponsor the rest of your education and support your mother's medical needs too. This is not charity. It's a gift from one soul to another." The letter ended with a name, "A friend who believes in you." Arav sat there stunned. His hands trembled. He read the letter again to make sure he hadn't misunderstood. Could this be real? Who would do this? And why? He took the letter to his room and stared at it for a long time. Part of him wanted to ignore it, to think it was some kind of prank, but the words felt too real, too personal. Someone had seen his pain and responded with kindness. The next day he went to the office again and asked if anyone had dropped off the letter in person. The staff said no, it was just there with the rest of the regular mail. He asked his professors, even Tara, but no one knew anything. Tara read the letter and raised her eyebrows. "Maybe your story reached someone deeper than you imagined," she said. "Maybe you inspired the right heart." Still confused, but grateful, Arav followed the instructions at the end of the letter. It gave a contact, email anonymous, but real. He wrote a short reply. "Thank you. I don't know who you are, but your words touched me deeply. If this is truly real, then please know I accept your help. Not because I want an easy way out, but because I want to honor the love behind it." He received a reply within an hour. "It's real. And you've already honored it by living with such honesty." True to their word, within a few weeks, Arav received an official scholarship upgrade. His part-time work hours were reduced. Funds were quietly transferred to help with Mina's medicines and care back home. Arav called his mother immediately. "Ma," he said, "something unbelievable has happened." Mena listened quietly as he told her about the letter. "Do you trust this person?" she asked gently. "I do now," he said, "because they see me, Ma, not just my struggle, but me." Mina's voice cracked with emotion. "Maybe this is what your father meant in his letter about not stopping you from flying." Arav smiled. "Maybe someone else saw the wings you gave me." Back at the university, Arav's life began to change. With less financial pressure, he focused better on his studies. He joined a writing club, started tutoring other students, and even volunteered at the local health center. One evening, while walking through the library, he found an envelope placed between the pages of a book he used often. It was the same Handwriting, just reminding you I'm still cheering for you. Keep going. No name, no face, just words. But somehow they gave him strength. Over time, Arav accepted that he might never know who the person was. And maybe it didn't matter. What mattered was what the kindness had created. Young man who believed again. Months passed. Mina's health improved steadily. Remen kept her active and made sure she had everything she needed. She began stitching clothes again, something she hadn't done in years. I feel alive again, she told Arav one day. Because now you believe there's a future, he replied softly. The mysterious friend continued to send notes, always brief, always kind. Once a month, Arav would find one tucked into a notebook, slipped under his door, or folded into his laundry. But one day, the note was different. Soon, I'll stop writing. Not because I'm going away, but because I think you've found your own voice now. Let it echo far. Let it light others. And if ever you wonder why, remember, one candle can light 1,000 more, without losing its own flame. Arav folded the letter slowly. He pressed it to his chest, closed his eyes, and whispered, "Thank you, whoever you are." That evening, Arav stood before his classroom to give a short presentation. He didn't use slides or read from a paper. He simply spoke from the heart. There are two kinds of people in life, he said. Those who walk past pain, and those who stop to hold it. I don't know who held mine, but I know what it felt like to be lifted when I couldn't stand. The room was silent. Every face watched him with care. I hope to be that kind of person for someone else, because kindness, even from a stranger, can change everything. When he walked back to his seat, his professor gave him a small nod, the kind that said, "Well done." And deep inside, Arav knew this wasn't the end of the letter's journey. It was only the beginning. Because now, he would write the next chapter, not with paper and ink, but with the life he was finally living, and someone somewhere would be waiting to receive it. Arav sat at his small desk, sunlight pouring through the window beside him. His books were open, notes spread all around, but his mind was far away. It had been weeks since the last anonymous letter arrived. He still checked under his door every morning, still flipped through his textbooks carefully, hoping to find one tucked inside, but nothing came. At first he felt confused, then a bit empty. But slowly, he realized what the last letter had really meant. That mysterious person wasn't leaving him behind. They were giving him space to grow on his own, and he was growing. He felt it in the way he now walked with more confidence, spoke in class with more clarity, and smiled without forcing it. One Sunday morning, while reviewing a project, Arav's phone buzzed beside him. It was a number he didn't recognize. He picked up, thinking it might be from the health center or the university office.
"Hello,"
he said. A woman's voice replied, kind and gentle. "Hello, is this Arav Sharma?" "Yes, who's speaking?" "My name is Sarah," she said. "I'm calling from Hope Valley Foundation." Arav paused. I've never heard of that." "That's okay," she said kindly. "We're a small organization. We help students like you, students who've shown great resilience." "Someone submitted your name." Arav's heart skipped. "Submitted my name?" "Yes," she continued. "We received a letter, handwritten. It told your story, about how you gave up your dream to care for your mother, and how you got back up again. It moved all of us." He went silent. The mysterious letters. Was this connected? "We would like to offer you a fellowship," Sarah said. "It comes with a monthly stipend, mentorship, and an opportunity to work with us after graduation. We believe your story isn't just powerful, it's inspiring." Arav sat back in his chair, eyes wide. He tried to speak, but his voice cracked. "Why me?" "Because someone believes in you," she said softly. "And now, so do we." After the call ended, Arav sat there for a long time, the phone still in his hand. His heart was racing, not with fear, but with something warm and powerful. Someone out there had written about him, had shared his truth, had seen value in his pain, and turned it into purpose. He called his mother that evening, his voice shaking with emotion. "Ma," he said, "you won't believe what just happened." "Tell me, beta." He explained everything, every word of the call. On the other end, Mena was silent for a moment. Then she spoke quietly. "It was them again, wasn't it?" Arav nodded. "I think so. Maybe it was that same person who sent those letters. They're still watching, still helping." Mina smiled through the phone. "There are people in this world, Arav, who do good without needing to be seen. Maybe one of them found you." He thought about those letters again, the careful handwriting, the soft words, the perfect timing. Maybe he would never know who it was. Maybe he didn't need to. 2 weeks later, Arav was invited to a private event hosted by the foundation. It was a small gathering, just a few students, some mentors, and guests. He wore his best clothes, nervous and unsure what to expect. As he entered the hall, he was welcomed warmly. Everyone already seemed to know who he was. They introduced him to other students, some from hard places like him, others who had overcome losses and fears. For the first time, Arav didn't feel like the odd one out. He felt seen, equal. Then something unexpected happened. During the final moments of the event, a woman stepped up to the microphone to speak. She was older, dressed simply, but her voice was strong. "Stories have power," she said, "and sometimes, the right story finds the right ear. A few months ago, I Received a letter from someone who didn't sign their name. It was a story about a boy who chose his mother over his dream, and then chose to rise again. That letter reminded me why we do what we do. Arav's heart pounded in his chest. Was she talking about him? She continued, that boy is here with us today. Arav, would you come forward? Arav stood slowly, his legs shaking. All eyes turned to him as he walked to the front. He didn't know what to say, so he simply smiled. The woman handed him a small card. This is for you. The days flowed gently after the foundation event. Like pages turning in a book, Arav no longer feared reading. He studied harder, smiled more often, and began meeting new people who carried stories like his, some heavier, some softer, but all shaped by pain and perseverance. The letter he had written now sat safely in the support office, waiting for the right hands to receive it. And Arav, for the first time, felt he was not just surviving, he was giving back. One late evening, while walking through the quiet campus garden, Arav's phone rang. It was a local number he didn't recognize. He hesitated, then picked up. Hello. A hesitant male voice answered. Is this Arav Sharma? Yes. Who's calling? I am Raj, the voice said slowly. I study here too. I got your letter. Arav stopped walking. You don't know me, Raj continued, but your letter. It came on a day I was planning to leave everything. I haven't spoken to anyone about this. I didn't even tell my parents. I lost my sister in an accident last year. Since then, nothing felt right. But your words made me stop. They made me breathe. Arav's throat tightened. He leaned against a bench and closed his eyes. I don't need you to reply, Raj said. I just wanted to say thank you. Arav spoke softly. Thank you for telling me. I'm glad it reached you. After the call, he sat there for a while in silence. The garden around him swayed in the breeze. The stars blinked softly above. One letter, one moment of courage, and it had saved someone. The next morning, Arav met Tara at the library. She noticed something different in his face. You look lighter, she said with a smile. I think I'm learning how to live with the weight, he replied. Over time, Arav's bond with Tara grew stronger. She had been there when he fainted, when he had no one to talk to, and now, she stood beside him as a close friend. But one evening, as they sat watching the sunset from the campus rooftop, Arav finally asked something that had been sitting in the back of his mind for a long time. Did you ever write letters? He asked her casually. Tara looked surprised. Letters. I used to get anonymous notes, encouraging ones. One of them led me to the foundation. She smiled, but shook her head. No, Arav. I wish I had thought of that, but it wasn't me. Arav nodded. A small part of him had wondered, but somehow, he liked not knowing. It added magic to the journey. Weeks later, he returned home for a short break. His mother looked stronger now. Her hair was tied neatly, her hands no longer shook as much, and her voice carried laughter again. You've grown thinner, she scolded him as she set the lunch table. You always say that, Ma, he laughed. Even when I was a baby, they talked for hours. She told him about her stitching work, how she now made soft scarves for new mothers in the community. He showed her pictures of the library, his professors, the friends he had made. That evening, while Mena made tea, Arav sat in the old living room and noticed something new on the wall, a small frame, right beside his childhood photo. He stood and looked closer. It was the very first acceptance letter from the university, the one he had hidden away. You kept this? He asked. Mena walked in, tea in hand. I framed it the day you left. That letter changed everything. It reminded me what we're capable of when we choose faith over fear. Arav smiled and nodded. Double quotes. By the way, she said, sitting beside him, while you were gone, I met someone. His eyebrows shot up. Met someone? Yes, she said, amused. At the clinic, a young woman. She said she worked with a foundation that helps students. I think she knows you. Her name was Sarah. Arav blinked. Sarah called me about the fellowship. She came to check on me, Mena said softly. She told me how proud they are of you, how your story gave hope to others. She said you're becoming a quiet leader. Arav looked down, humbled. She also told me something else, Mena continued, that sometimes the most broken paths lead to the most beautiful places. He nodded slowly. She's right. Later that night, after Mena had gone to sleep, Arav sat on the balcony with a notebook in hand. The stars above seemed closer now, not as distant. He flipped to a blank page and began writing again. Dear stranger, you may not believe it now, but this pain will pass. It may leave scars, yes, but those scars will tell your story. You're not weak, you're human, and that is enough. Hold on. Even when your hands shake, you are seen, you are needed, you are not alone. He folded the letter and placed it in his bag. He would leave it somewhere, maybe in the train station on the way back, maybe inside a library book. Someone would find it, someone who needed it, and that was enough. Back at the university, life picked up again. His grades improved, his energy returned. He mentored new students. Every now and then he would find a small note tucked in odd places, written not by the original mysterious friend, but by those he had helped. One student wrote, "Your letter found me in my darkest hour." Another simply wrote, "Thank you for reminding me, I matter." Arav never took credit. He just smiled, folded the notes, and placed them in a box under his bed. his own quiet reminder that kindness, once started, never really ends. And while he still didn't know who had written him that first letter, he had made peace with the mystery. Because some miracles don't need names. Some second chances begin with a whisper. And sometimes, one life becomes a lighthouse for many just by choosing to keep going. Arav stood in front of a small classroom. The same one where he had once sat as a nervous student, unsure of his place. Now, 2 years later, he had returned not as a guest, not even as a student, but as a mentor. The university had offered him a part-time role helping first-year students adjust, both emotionally and academically. And today, he was about to share his story with a new batch of fresh faces. He took a breath, looked at the eager young eyes before him, and smiled. "I wasn't always confident," he began. "In fact, I almost gave up before I ever began." He spoke slowly, gently, with pauses that allowed the weight of his words to settle in the room. He told them about his mother's illness, about walking away from college dreams, about letters that arrived like tiny miracles. And then he told them how those same letters gave him a second chance at life. He ended with a message they weren't expecting. "I don't know who changed my life," he said. "I never saw their face. I don't even know their name, but they believed in me, and that belief became the bridge between who I was and who I am now. You may never know the effect your small kindness has, but please, never hold it back." The room fell silent. One student wiped her eyes. Another gave him a soft smile, the kind that said, "I needed that today." After the session ended, Arav packed his bag and stepped into the hallway. As he turned toward the exit, he saw something that made him freeze. There, standing near the notice board, was a woman's simple clothes, hair tied back, holding a folder. Her eyes met his, and she smiled. Something about that smile struck a deep chord in him. "Are you Arav Sharma?" she asked. "Yes," he replied slowly. "I'm Anya," she said. "I was asked to deliver something to you, from someone who wanted to stay unknown." She handed him a plain white envelope. Arav stared at it, heart pounding. The handwriting, it was the same. Soft, neat, filled with silence and comfort. He looked up, but Anya was already walking away. "You know who sent this?" he called. She turned and smiled. "No, I'm just the messenger, but they said you'd understand." Arav walked to the empty garden bench and sat down. Hands trembling, he opened the envelope. There was a letter. Short, like always. "Dear Arav, you've grown beyond what I ever imagined. Watching you turn your pain into purpose has been the greatest gift. It's time you knew something. I was once where you were. Lost, scared, alone. Someone helped me too. I promised myself I would pass that kindness forward. And I did with you. Now, it's your turn. Keep the circle going." With quiet pride, a friend Raf's hands tightened around the paper. His eyes brimmed, but he didn't cry. Not this time. Instead, he smiled. It all made sense now. The mystery wasn't about a name. It never had been. The real answer was this. Someone broken had helped him heal. And now, he had helped others. That was the real legacy. Later that night, he returned to his room and opened the old wooden box beneath his bed. Inside were all the letters he had received the ones he had written. He added this last note to the top, closed the box gently, and placed it in a small locker at the campus library with a note. "For someone who needs it. Take what helps, leave what heals." A few days later, the library staff found a young girl sitting with the box open on her lap, tears rolling down her cheeks. She had just lost her father and was failing her classes. That note, that letter, at the top, had stopped her from giving up. The circle had begun again. Months passed. Arav graduated with honors. The foundation offered him a position as their youth outreach coordinator. His job now was to find other students struggling in silence and bring them light. He returned home for a few days after graduation. Mina hugged him so tightly he could barely breathe. "You did it," she whispered. "You made it." "No, Ma," he replied. "We did," she smiled, tears escaping the corners of her eyes. The next morning, Arav walked to the neighborhood post office. He carried with him a small package, a notebook filled with quotes, stories, and copies of the anonymous letters. On top, he placed a final message. "To whoever finds this, you matter. No matter where you are in life, there is hope. And hope grows stronger when shared. Pass it on."